Regardless of a religious group's belief system or seemingly alien practices, religions all link back to their attitudes as a group and their culture as a whole, which contributes to their formation as an individual ethnic group or nation. And this can be seen in ethnic Bengalis divided between Islam and Hinduism, or Punjabis divided between Islam, Hinduism, and Sikhism. But this can also be seen in Europe, and there is seldom a group that leaves more befuddled than the Albanians of Southeastern Europe, a group in the Balkans who are scattered throughout many nations today and are one of only a handful of native Europeans who mostly practice Sunni Islam. Now, looking at the country of Albania today, it would probably appear that this small, seemingly minor nation really has no place in the grand scheme of European history or even the current geopolitical landscape of Europe. But in the words of Yoda, size matters not. The journey of the Albanians begins some time ago, although admittedly historians aren't exactly sure when, as there's no consensus on the exact linguistic origins of the Albanian language. It is easily ascertained that Albanian is a member of the Indo-European language family due to certain similarities with other languages in the family, but beyond that, it's really anyone's guess, so it really is the Basque of the Indo-European language family. There are several theories related to the modern Albanian language, with the most popular being that the Albanian language, and by extension the modern nation state, is descended from the ancient Illyrians, which for about 90% of the audience only raises more questions than answers. Who were the Illyrians? A loose coalition of nations that existed in the Balkans over 2,000 years ago, practicing a form of paganism loosely associated with that of the ancient Greeks and Romans, who saw the Illyrians as backward savages and whom they were frequently hostile to, even establishing a short-lived colony on the Adriatic coast of Italy. Eventually, however, the entirety of Illyria was conquered by the rapidly expanding Romans, becoming the province of Illyricum, located roughly in the same position as the modern Yugoslav successor states. However, Illyricum was short-lived, later becoming known as Dalmatia, where a significant proportion of the population was Latinized, with the former Illyrian homeland ironically becoming one of the most heavily Latinized areas of the Eastern Roman Empire. Many linguists, such as Norbert Jokel, believe that the surviving southern dialects of Illyrian evolved into the Old Albanian language, which of course is located just a bit south of the Old Illyrian language. Even though this theory has the most traction among Albanian ethnologists and linguists, it is far from being indisputably proven, and other theories include a connection with the ancient Thracian language of the southern Balkans, connection with the Proto-Slavic family, or even belonging to the same language subfamily as Greek, which is still entirely possible and compatible with previous theories, as Illyrian and Thracian are also believed to be loosely related to Greek as well. Although most modern Albanians fancy themselves as the successors of these ancient Illyrians or Thracians, over the centuries Albanians have had significant genetic and linguistic influence from the surrounding peoples, especially Latins, Greeks, and Slavs, and either way, the dominant paternal haplogroup in modern Albanians is I2A2, which is shared by most South Slavic nations and even Romanians today. Now, one confusion that may arise when first learning of European history is the differentiation between the people group in the Balkans in the early and postmodern history known as the Albanians and the much older people group in the Caucasian mountain region also known as the Albanians, although for convenience sake are usually referred to as Caucasian Albanians or Aguan as they were known to the ancient Armenians. Despite their names, these two entities are completely unrelated, with the name for the modern state of Albania having a Latin etymological origin, while the ancient Caucasian Albania actually derives from Greek and was of the Caucasian language family. In fact, the name Albania is actually a foreign exonym for the country, with the country actually being referred to as Shqipëri or Shqiperia in their native language, which really does beg the question as to how the rest of the world could have gotten it so wrong. For centuries, Albanians were a part of the Roman and later Byzantine empires, and it wasn't until around the 13th or 14th centuries that the modern nation-state of Albania began to form, practicing the same form of Orthodox Christianity as their Serbian, Greek, and Bulgarian neighbors. Following the Ottoman invasion of the Balkan Peninsula, the majority of Albanians converted to the religion of the Turks, Sunni Islam, although a small amount of Albanians fled to neighboring Italy, where they are known as the Arbareshe, forming their own unique community even to this day. Now, it is likely that a large amount of ethnic Albanians in the process of their Islamization took up the Turkish language and were assimilated into the Turkish nation, similar to what happened to the majority of Greeks in Anatolia. However, by all historical records, it would appear that the majority of Albanians retained their language and ethnic identity. Along with the majority Sunni and Orthodox population, many Albanians also belong to the Roman Catholic sect, especially in the northern region of the country, which previously was under considerable influence by the Republic of Venice, and it's sometimes assumed in the country that many that practice Orthodoxy may also have Greek or Macedonian roots. Albania as a country has a population of around 3 million people today, belonging to the collection of socialist countries behind the Iron Curtain, although their relation with the Soviet Union was complicated to say the least. Even though the country of Albania may seem pretty small, ranking among the lowest 15 countries in Europe in terms of area and population, the larger Albanian nation, composed of those with discernible Albanian heritage, extends far beyond these borders, including parts of Montenegro, Macedonia, Kosovo, and Serbia. This contiguous region in the Balkans, made up of territory from various countries, is known as Greater Albania, and the concept of unification for the Greater Albania region has a particularly high amount of support in Kosovo and Albania, while Albanians in the Republic of Macedonia are more reluctant, presumably being more heavily integrated in their respective country. But what exactly is Kosovo? Well, possibly the single most contentious political issue facing the Balkans today. You see, after the collapse of the SFR Yugoslavia in the 1990s, they dissolved much like the Soviet Union, with each of the individual republics becoming their own independent countries, with the exception of the socialist republics of Montenegro and Serbia, along with the socialist autonomous provinces of Vojvodina and Kosovo becoming a single state, considered by many, including themselves, to be the rightful successor state of Yugoslavia. Only problem was, eventually Montenegro, who previously already had an extensive history as an independent state, won it out. Following an independence referendum in 2006, Montenegro gained its independence, and although not exactly thrilled with becoming a landlocked state once again, Serbia largely accepted the results. However, the subsequent declaration of independence by Kosovo in 2008, which by this point was 90% ethnically Albanian, was not accepted by the Serbian government, who considered Kosovo to be historical Serbian land merely occupied by ethnic Albanians. However, since their declaration of independence, Kosovo has gained recognition by over 100 sovereign countries, including the US, the vast majority of EU member states, 4 out of 6 other ex-Yugoslav successors, and of course, Albania. Kosovo today has a population of around 1.8 million people, overwhelmingly belonging to the Albanian ethnicity, speaking the Albanian language and practicing Sunni Islam. Although similar to other Eastern European countries, including Albania, Kosovo is largely secular and is considerably less religious than other Islamic countries in the Middle East and elsewhere. Now on to the statistics, something I know many of my audience look forward to more than anything else. In the contiguous Greater Albania region, there are roughly 5 million ethnic Albanians, including 3.7 million Albanian Muslims, 400,000 Catholics, 350,000 Orthodox Christians, with the remainder being irreligious, although this greatly varies by region, with Albanians in Albania and Montenegro being only 2/3 Muslim, while those in Kosovo and Macedonia are both over 90% Muslim. However, we're not finished yet, as Albania's southern neighbor Greece has at least 500,000 ethnic Albanians, including around 100,000 ethnic Albanians known as Arvanites, who migrated from Albania to the northern Peloponnese Peninsula and the region of Attica, or basically the suburbs of Athens between the 13th and 16th centuries, and likewise are mostly Orthodox Christians. The Arvanites historically spoke the Arvantika language, a member of the Southern Tosk Albanian dialects, and saw themselves as Albanians, although in recent years more Arvanites are moving to large cities such as Athens and picking up a new Greek identity. Albania, being a former protectorate of the Italian Empire, also has a very large diaspora of around 700 to 800,000 Albanians in Italy, including 200,000 of the Arboriche mentioned earlier, and there are also another 700,000 ethnic Albanians in other parts of Europe, particularly Germany, Austria, and Switzerland, where huge numbers of other Balkan people have been attracted to since the collapse of the Iron Curtain due to their relative stability when compared to their home countries. In all other areas of the world, there are an additional 300,000 Albanians, mostly in the northeast corner of the United States. However, I've neglected to mention perhaps the most important Albanian diaspora of all, located in the modern country of Turkey. While under Ottoman rule, the migration of officials was not one way, as literally tens of thousands of Albanians from the Balkans migrated to Turkey, frequently intermixing with the Turkish population, leaving the true number of Albanians indeterminate, although those that actively acknowledge their Albanian heritage and have at least some grasp on the Albanian language in the country easily number 2 million people, or about 2/3 of the actual country of Albania. Including all these populations make for a combined total of over 9 million people, effectively tripling the size of the Albanian nation worldwide, with an additional 5 to 7 million people with at least partial Albanian ancestry, many of whom might not even know it, which certainly goes to show the true scale of Albanian influence in the past century, and spits in the face of the thought that Albania is an insignificant nation, and also spits in the face of those that would attempt to conflate the religious identity of Islam purely with Middle Easterners living in the deserts of Arabia. Please let me know your thoughts on the emergence of Albania, the greater Albanian nation, and the even grander Albanian diaspora around the globe. As always, thank you all for watching. This has been Mason, and I'll see you next time.